Hi friends, I'm Day, your host, travel lover, deal finder, and storyteller. And this is Wander Every Day, the podcast where real talk meets real trips. Each week, I sit down with some of my favorite well-traveled friends to swap stories. We're diving in on where to stay, what to eat, how to spend your time and money, and how to enjoy exploring the world. Now, let's wander. Hey friends, welcome back to Wander Every Day. Japan has been the number one must-hit destination on my bucket list for many years now. And I know I am not the only one. It's the kind of place where ancient temples and neon skies exist side by side, where you can eat a $2 bowl of ramen that changes your life, then find yourself quietly moved in a mossy forest a few minutes later. I feel like the allure of Japan lies in its contrasts. The stillness of a tea ceremony versus the chaos of Shibuya crossing. The thrill of the Shinkansen passing Mount Fuji versus the patience and order instilled in day-to-day life. From convenience store snacks to bowing on the street, Japan is a culture rooted in respect and detail, where even the smallest moment feels intentional. Japan is endlessly fascinating. It maintains a rich culture that seems untouched by time, yet is more technologically advanced in so many ways compared to North America. And that's part of the magic and why so many people want to visit today. If you're curious to another reason why so many people seem to be visiting Japan today, it's because unlike previous years, Japan has become much more affordable. This is due to a recent depreciation of their currency, the yen. The Japanese yen has reached a 34-year low compared to the US dollar and has reduced the cost to travelers by about 30%. That means that accommodations, dining, experiences, and intercountry travel are now much more affordable compared to previous years. For budget and value travelers, it's the opportunity we've been waiting for to eat the sushi, drink the sake, and watch the deer bow in Nara Park. Today's guest is my wonderful friend Maddie, who's going to review her epic trip to Japan. Maddie and her husband Taka explored Tokyo and the mountain town of Nikko together. We're also going to hear a little bit about a true Japanese authentic experience while Maddie goes to visit Taka's hometown in Chiba. And then Maddie sets solo and stays in Nara with a side trip to Osaka and her first time aboard the Shinkansen, also known as the bullet train. We talk about food, culture, language tips, must-sees, and the real deal on what Japan is like traveling as a solo woman. We're also going to talk about a few places Maddie's been on her other trips to Japan, including the cultural and traditional town of Kyoto, the beachy paradise known as Okinawa, and last but not least, Hakone, known for its beautiful onsen town and its views of Mount Fuji. Now, let's get into it. Today, I am so excited to host my incredibly talented, kind, and inspiring friend Maddie on Wander Every Day. Maddie is that friend that always seems to post on Instagram in a different place every month. I've seen her eat tacos in Mexico City, hike mountains in Hong Kong and Nepal, enjoy the sunsets of Thailand and Costa Rica, and this is just to name a few. Maddie is the kind of traveler who does her research, finds the gems, and somehow balances thoughtful planning with total spontaneity. The trip she's reviewing today is not her first trip to Japan, but she is here to tell us everything that she's learned along the way. Maddie is the epitome of cool. She has her motorcycle license, she lives in a tiny home, and she used her wedding as an excuse to travel to Vietnam to get her wedding dress made. Maddie, welcome to the pod.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I am so happy that you would agree to join me in the first place. When creating this podcast, you are the epitome of the person I think of when I think of my friends who love to travel, and you have so much great advice, so much great information. You're so well traveled. You are everything I want in a podcast guest. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I want you to know that I officially know that you're moving to Japan because Taka told me. So when did this happen? And has this been something that you've been thinking about for a long time, or did this come out of nowhere?
Okay, so it was not something I was thinking about for a long time. I've been to Japan a couple times and I was like, okay, it's cool. And so I've never lived anywhere besides Hamilton, Ontario and Waterloo for school. And then I was kind of half-heartedly, I don't know, looking into maybe living somewhere else, but anywhere, don't know, try Montreal. And then I heard that there's an age limit on the Japan working holiday visa, and it's between 18 and 30. And I'm like, oh man, am I gonna regret this if I like age out and then I can't do it? So then it's you can apply when you're 30, and then after you get approved, you can use it within a year. So like I applied in December when I was 30, and then I turned 31 in January, and then like I can still just use it anytime in that year. So I was like, I'll apply, I'll go. And if I hate it, like I can just leave and come back home. Like it's not a big deal. But then if I like get to where I'm 35 and I'm like, I should have gone and done that working holiday visa in Japan. I don't want to regret it. So I was like, I'll try. And I think it'd be fun. And I was going to surprise you with that
So,
today. I was going to get your genuine reaction of being like, Maddie's married to Japan.
oh my gosh. So Taka spoiled the beans when I messaged him about you guys maybe selling your tiny home. Like
Oh,
he
like
kind of
recently.
when he posted on Instagram, I was like, "What do you mean you're selling the tiny home?" And he literally was like, "Maddie's moving to Japan." And I'm like, "Why didn't you lead with that?" I don't know. Why didn't you tell me that first?
I was going to surprise
So,
you.
where did you already get a job? Like,
No,
if you have a working visa, I'm assuming
no,
you don't have a job?
no. So they
Okay,
don't
so
want you to
do you know
work
where you're gonna go?
full time. I'm showing up with backpack and a dream.
Oh my God,
Yeah. So they
that is
don't want
like
you to
very
work.
wild.
They don't want you to work the whole time. Like they want you to work a maximum of like 6 months and you're there for a year. So like they don't want you to work the whole time.
Okay.
You can have a job lined up, but like that's kind of like sponsorship and you don't need like a sponsorship. You can just show up and then like you'll find a job.
When are you actually planning on moving to Japan?
October 20th, like after Thanksgiving. So we have Thanksgiving and then a
Okay.
friend's wedding is October 18th. And then I'm gonna go like after that.
Mhm. Oh my gosh. And then is there the opportunity to extend that visa?
They just announced that you can extend it to 2 years. So yeah. And then
Mhm.
I think if you get sponsored, you can extend it longer.
Who is eligible to apply for this visa and what's the visa called?
It's called the Japan Working Holiday Visa Program.
Hmm. Hmm.
And Canadian citizens are allowed to apply, like as long as you're just a resident or citizen of Canada between the ages of 18 and 30. Like there's like a form you fill out. You get like a doctor's note to say like you're healthy. You have to have like a bank statement to show that you have like X amount of money. I think it's $3,000 in your bank account, so you're not just showing up broke. But I didn't have to pay anything to apply for it. I just had to go to like the Japanese consulate in downtown Toronto with like my stack of forms and like passport photo, and I think I dropped off my passport with them and then picked it up 2 weeks later.
You hear a lot about the Commonwealth visa, which is the
Mhm.
visa where you can work in any Commonwealth country. I believe it's also a year, but can be extended to 2 years if you're doing like agricultural work. But I've never heard of this Japan working holiday visa.
Japanese people can get it for Canada too. So we've met a
Oh, so it's
guy.
both ways.
It goes both ways. We have a friend that we met
Oh.
in the like Dundas Peak when we were on a hike, and Taka goes, and then so we just like talked to him, and then he lives in Toronto and he's on like a working holiday visa. We're like, oh, that's so cool, and now we're friends with him.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. And you're going to have so many more tips when you get back
Yeah.
or while you're there.
No.
How many times have you been to Japan before?
Three. Total of three.
When was the first time you went to Japan?
20. Oh, yes. So I think it was 2018. We had almost been dating for a year. And the first time I went to Japan was in our like big, long 7 month trip in Asia that we did together.
Hmm.
So Japan, we spent like a month there for the first time. And then the
Hmm.
next time was 2019. We did Okinawa. And then the most recent one was 2023, which is the one that is the most recent one that I'll be talking about.
Where is Taka from in Japan?
He's from Chiba. So it's like Tokyo's in the middle-ish, and then Chiba is like east. So it's close to the ocean. So
And
like,
have you been to Chiba?
yeah, I've been to like the little town that he grew
Okay.
up in. The first time I went to Japan, we borrowed a car from one of his family friends, and he's like driving me around, and he goes, "That's my school." And he's like, "That's where I used to play soccer." So he showed me like all of like where he grew up. It was really cute.
And I also think it probably gives you a different experience and perspective of Japan. I think of all the friends I have, you have the most interesting perspective because your husband's Japanese, but also because you've been a few times.
Right.
So I look forward to the answers of your questions today.
Can't wait.
This is also an interesting trip, I find, because you did part of it solo. Have you ever traveled on your own before or done any parts of trips on your own?
I have. I went to Australia by myself in 2018. I think it was 17 as well, actually. 2017. Taka and I had just started to talk, like not quite officially dating yet. And I was like, oh, I'm thinking about going to Australia because I had a friend that was going to school there, like university. And Taka was like, just chatting. And he's like, you should do it. And I'm like, I don't know like how to book like a flight ticket. It's gonna be so expensive. And so Taka was like, you should use Skyscanner. And then so I did. And I was
Hmm.
like, whoa, this is so cheap. And so I did like a 2 week trip to Australia by myself. And I loved it. When Tak and I did our 7 month trip, there was a week where we split up and like it was in Cambodia. He went to like a different part of Cambodia and I went to see like Angkor Wat. And he's like, I've already seen Angkor Wat before. I don't need to go again. So we did a little bit separate there. And then recently on the May long weekend of this year, I went to St. John's, Newfoundland by myself for like a long weekend. And that was fun. So I do enjoy solo traveling. I
Hmm.
enjoy traveling as well with my husband, but it is nice to like just wake up at whatever time you want to wake up and then be like, I want to do this today. And you don't have to like agree with anybody for anything, which is kind of nice. But it is nice to travel with somebody as well. And then you're like chatting at the end of the day or whatever. And like you can share, like, oh, that was so cool. So I don't know. There's ups and downs for traveling by yourself.
Is there anything different about approaching a trip that you're planning on your own versus approaching a trip that you're planning with someone else like Taka or a friend?
I did a trip with my friend Jess to Nashville, and she's very type A. So she just planned everything, and I'm like, I'm along for the ride. Cool. I don't think that the planning for me is very different because I'd like do a quick Google search and see like some top hits. I was like, all right, and then get to the hostel and like chat to people that are there. That's like the general how I plan a trip with or without anybody. I think the only difference is when you're there, it's like I can't rely on anybody else to be social and make connections and conversations with the people that are staying in the hostel. It's like I kind of just have to go out there and do it myself. But the planning aspect is, I think it's the same. I'll just put my backpack on. Here we go. Figure it out later.
Oh my gosh, good for you. Do you primarily use hostels as your form of accommodation?
Yes, 95%. If it's Taka and I going together, if it's like the hostels are $40 per bed, we have to get two. But if the private room in a hostel is like $80, we're like, that's the same price. We're just gonna get a private room. We'll sleep better. But usually
Hmm.
it's hostels. We'll splurge sometimes on a hotel, but it's mainly hostels.
Do you enjoy the socializing aspect of a hostel where there's like a common space and you meet people? Is that part of the appeal of hostels to you?
Yes, that's definitely the appeal of hostels. I think I remember my trips based on the people that we've met. That's like one of our favorite parts of traveling too, is like just meeting all the other weird people that are traveling and like
Hmm.
hanging out and like you get such good advice. It's like this podcast, but like in real life in like a kitchen in a hostel. You're just getting travel tips from the people that have done it.
And I think when you're traveling too, you're probably seeing people who they're in the same place as you. So they're like, we went to this restaurant or we did this experience and like you have to do it or we did this and like it's super overrated and maybe you should not consider doing it at all. So maybe the best way to get travel advice is actually staying in a hostel so you could talk to people who are traveling there like at that moment.
That's, I think, also how we can get away with not planning anything. Because, like, we'll just get there and then we'll ask around, like, what did you do today? What did you do last week? And then we'll be like getting some actual intel of, like, that was kind of overrated, or like, this thing was really
Mhm.
cool to do. So I think that helps for not planning anything when we travel.
On the day budget travel scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the absolute cheapest accommodations, street food, minimal to no paid activities, and 10 is absolute luxury, no budget, four seasons travel, where would you rate yourself as a traveler?
I know where I'm going to rate myself as a traveler. What do you think? What do you think my scale would be?
Everyone asks me this question.
Oh,
I
seriously?
think,
You took it out on
yeah,
someone.
everyone. I think that you're a 2 or a 3, to be honest.
I'm a
I
two.
couldn't see you being higher than a 3. Yeah,
I'm
I
definitely
would
a
say
two.
2. I think you do things, so like you're going to spend a little more money than like absolute minimum, but I think you're really looking for value and budget.
And I'm in for like that local experience. Like if there's a theme park in Vietnam that like everybody goes to like the Hands Bridge thing, and I'm like, eh. I'm more of like in for like the local stuff. Like the locals want to do like a boat thing, I'll do the boat thing, or like I don't know, fishing tours, things like that. So like I'll spend. if it's something that's like you really can't go there and not do this thing, there's like a good reasoning behind it. If it's like really special or it's really cool, it's like, yeah, sure, I'll splurge for it, but I don't do it very often if it's got to be like really motivating.
Okay, well, this episode is specifically for our budget travelers, then. You're going to learn a lot from Maddie. Tell us about your general trip itinerary that we're reviewing today. So, just quickly review the places you went to and kind of how long you were at each place.
Okay. So we flew into Narita, which is like outside of Tokyo, and then we stayed overnight, I think, just to kind of like chill. This trip, we went to a family friend's house. So, like, my husband's family friend owns like an extra house, like a secondary house. And my mother-in-law was staying there as well. So we went and we got to like hang out and we just like kind of cooked a lot of our own meals and went out for some. It was really nice just to have a space because the time difference is like 12 hours. So we just got to nap whenever we wanted to. So we spent 2 days there, I think. And then we started our trip to Nikko. And then, so that's like all the way up north. And then we came back like down to like Tokyo-ish area. We split up for a couple days. So I went to Nara 5 days, and Taka went to visit his grandma, who lives kind of near Tokyo. And then we met back up in Tokyo and flew home. So I think the trip was a little under 2 weeks.
Did you find that that was too short of a time? Because I think a lot of people, when they plan a trip to Japan, think that you have to go for at least 2 weeks.
I feel like for me specifically, I've already seen a lot of the sites that Japan has to offer. So I think for the first time going to Japan, I would not go for less than 2 weeks. My first time in Japan, I literally spent a whole month, and I've been back 2 more times to see other things. It's like, you think it's such a small country, but it's really, really big. Like, it's really long, and like, it's so diverse between the different areas. You could spend 2 weeks in Tokyo and never see the same thing twice.
You talked about how you and Taka use Skyscanner. Is there any other apps that you use to plan travel, or do you even still use Skyscanner?
I still use Skyscanner. I'll check because if it's like the standby travel is more expensive than Skyscanner, then we won't do it. We'll like book an actual seat. We look at Google Flights too, just to kind of compare. And then while you're traveling between cities in the same country, like sometimes the domestic flights are cheap on Skyscanner as well. So I still use it. I still check it.
Have you ever stayed in a capsule hotel?
I don't think I've ever stayed in a capsule hotel. I've stayed in a hostel that's like almost like a capsule hotel, but it's got like a little curtain at the end, but it's like wood little pod, kind of. But it wasn't officially a capsule hotel.
Have you stayed in the Love Hotel?
No, but I really want to. And Taka does too. He's like, we gotta do it at least once, but we just haven't got there yet. Good question.
Okay. Has the vibe of Japan changed over the years that you've been visiting?
I don't think that the vibe has changed. I think that people are a little bit more open to seeing a blonde-haired person walking around. I think the first time I went, I got more stares. But now it's a little bit more common to see foreigners traveling, but the vibe is still the same, I think.
So you flew from Toronto to Narita, and then you mentioned you went to Taka's mom's friend's house. Where exactly was that?
That was in Chiba. The town is called Misaki, and it's right by the ocean. So we could take like a 10-minute walk and we would get to the ocean. So it's a small little cute town.
How long does it take to get from Tokyo to Chiba?
Tokyo to Chiba took, I want to say like maybe 2 hours. There's 2 or 3 trains that you have to take.
Does the Shinkansen run from Tokyo to Chiba? I seem to think there's only specific Shinkansen lines, and not every town is like serviced by a bullet train.
Yeah,
So is there Shinkansen that runs to Chiba?
no, I don't think that there's a bullet train that goes to Chiba. I think it's like mainly like the big long distances. If you're going across the country, you'll get like a bullet train, but it doesn't go to Chiba.
Mhm. Chiba being a more local town, tell us or describe to us what a local town in Japan is like.
It's small, but like they're like building wise small. There's not a lot of tall apartment buildings. There's not a lot of skyscrapers. It's a lot of like single dwelling homes. There's this little town in Misaki where like he grew up, my husband. There's one grocery store, there's a McDonald's, there's a convenience store, and then there's like little mom and pop shops, and a couple like cute little bars, but it's not really built up. Whereas like Chiba in like the city center, that's where you would go if you needed to like they have a really good running shoe store. They have like a really good soccer store that we've been to. These are just the places that I've seen in Chiba, but it's like a bigger city where you have more of like the skyscrapers. You have more trains that go there, but the little Misaki town was a little slower, a little temple that you have to like walk up a lot of steps. Like it's steep. And just a lot of people walking around and on their bicycles is their main mode of transportation. There's a train station that gets there, but if you're going around inside the town, like you got to bike or walk, or there's some cars too.
So if you're in Misaki visiting Taka's family and family friends, what did you guys do?
So he still has like friends from school that still live there. So every time that we go, he messages like everybody that he still knows that's in the town, and they'll kind of gather at this like one spot in town that's kind of like a bigger open restaurant because sometimes Japan bars and restaurants are really small, and so it's like pretty open, pretty big, and so we just kind of sit around in the table, and they're speaking a lot of Japanese, and I'm nodding and laughing when other people laugh, and I have no idea what's going on. Um, so they usually meet up to eat. Um, and I was like, I'm here for the food, totally. But the meeting spot is never like at somebody's house either. That's like a cultural thing where you don't just, hey, Daytona, come hang out at my house. I'd like to see you. It's like they don't meet at each other's houses. They'll meet at a restaurant.
Oh, that's interesting. Do you have any highlights or memories from your time in Misaki?
I really liked going to the beach. Every time I've been is like October, so it's kind of cold, but there's always people surfing. If you go early on in the morning, it's like better surfing because the waves are bigger, but there's always people out there. So it's so much fun just to like walk along the ocean and like watch all these people surfing. I just think it's so cool. So it's a big surf town as well, which is maybe that's what they're known for is surfing.
So after your time in Misaki, you went to Tokyo.
I think we went right to Nikko after Misaki. I think we went right to Nikko together, and we stayed there for 4 or 5 days.
What was the appeal of going to Nikko? Because
I
I have never heard of anyone going to Nikko before.
Yeah, it's kind of like an off the beaten path a little bit. Like it's not the main Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka. I've heard it's really pretty, like nature wise, and like my things for if I'm gonna travel somewhere is like I wanted to like have something interesting nature wise, like either mountains or like ocean, and it had mountains and lakes and waterfalls. And so I was like, yeah, cool. Let's go to Nikko. It'd be cool to see something different too. Like I've never been outside of like the big cities and like Taka's small hometown. And then do you know the three monkeys? Like the see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil? It started
Hmm.
in Nikko. There's like this temple and it has monkeys carved in around it. And it's got those three monkeys. So that's where it actually originated from, I'm pretty sure was this shrine in Nikko. So I heard that and I was like, oh, let's go.
Does Nikko have a tourist culture? Were there people there? Were there hostels there?
There was a hostel that we stayed in. I feel like there was also some hotels, not super built up for tourism. Well, not super built up for tourism of like Western people. I think it's like a national like people that are from Japan would go to Nikko. So I think it's built up for tourism of like Japanese people. Like the local people would go there to go see the temple and stuff that's there. There was a little school trip when we went to this temple. There was like all these like tiny little kids. They got off the bus and they're all in their matching school uniforms. So it's built for local tourism, not Western tourism.
How would you describe Nikko as a place? You mentioned that your perception was that it was this like green, outdoorsy space. How would you describe it now that you've been there?
Definitely green. It was like very mountainy. You know, that fresh, dewy mountain air. So it was like kind of got like that mossy vibe. It was cool. Very charming, kind of like a mystical forest.
Like a mystical forest.
Yeah.
If that isn't the best description of a place I want to go to Japan.
And it's such like a cool, striking difference from like, because like Tokyo's all like the skyscrapers, right?
What did you guys do while you were in Nikko?
We went to the temple. It was cool. Recommend it. And then there's also a little lake. So we did a hike around this lake, and there was a waterfall that was in a different direction. So we took a bus. There's a bus system around Nikko, and the waterfall was really pretty. There's cute little cafes built up around the waterfall, so you can get like a little coffee and then sit and listen to the waterfall. Very peaceful. And the hostel that we stayed in, the owner drives you from the train station, and then like you get up to like the hostel, and it's on the river. So like the hostel's like just here and the river's down here. So it's like you could go and just have your morning coffee by the river, and it was so nice. It was really peaceful.
Do you know what the hostel was called?
There is only one hostel in Nikko, I'm sure of it. I do not know what the hostel was called, but I will Google it. But I'm sure there's only one. It is called Earth Hostel, River House in Nikko.
It sounds like a cool hostel experience. I mean, we spent a lot of time in episode one talking about hostels, so we're not going to dive too deep into it. But it sounds like this hostel being on the river almost has, I don't know, almost like a elevated hostel vibe.
Yeah, you could say. It wasn't really elevated on the inside. It was like cute and cozy and like cabin cottage vibes. But apparently, this guy that owns the hostel throws like rave DJ parties in the summertime. But we were there in the shoulder season, like, so it was a bit cooler. I'm kind of interested to see the summertime rave parties that he throws.
Do Japanese people party?
They do. They work hard and they play hard.
Okay. Do they have like clubs? Do they listen to electronic music? What would a typical Japanese person do for fun in the evening?
They work really hard. So then they're like all stressed, right? So they'd go to like a bar, sometimes still in their work suits, and they drink a lot. And then there's clubs as well. I haven't been to a Japanese club yet, but there's definitely electronic music.
Do they have much of a bar culture, whether it's a beer, like a pub bar, or like a cocktail bar? What's their more
Mm.
casual, less dance party vibe like?
Mainly beer bars, but usually it's also with food. So like you will get some, there's like a Golden Guy area in Tokyo where it's all like little bars and like it's just drinks. But then I think like the local Japanese culture is you go out for food and drinks. Like it's always kind of together. And then in Tokyo too, like you'll get the fancy, swanky cocktail bars. But I think like mainly bar culture is beer. And a fun thing about Japan is you can get all you can eat, of course, everywhere. You can also get all you can drink, where they give you this little tablet and you're like, I want 10 beers. And they bring you 10 beers. And then it flashes and it says, you have
Oh my
five
God.
minutes left of your all you can drink. And so what we did was order quickly, I want 10 wines and 10 beers each. And they just brought it. And it was like, here you go. So our table was full of drinks and we just sat there and drank them.
Oh my gosh. How much is it to do all you can drink at a bar?
I feel like when I went, it was like $20. It's not expensive.
Oh my God, that's how much it costs to get like a cheap bottle of wine here.
Yeah. Right?
Man, Japan is sounding more and more appealing every moment.
You'd honestly just save money by going to Japan, I think.
Did you have any food highlights in Nikko? Is there certain meals or food experiences you had there that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, we had a noodle dish. I think it was soba noodles, like the buckwheat noodles. They had it in like a hot soup broth, and it was so good. The soup there, it was like kind of like a chili, right, mystical forest vibe. It's like a nice warm soup was so good. Very happy about the soup.
What's the difference between soba noodles and ramen noodles in terms of like texture and flavor and taste?
Soba noodles, I think, are less chewy, I would say, because ramen kind of has like a bit of a chewy texture to it. And soba noodles usually are served cold. So it was nice to see it in like a hot soup. I mean, I've only had it in like cold dishes before, so I really enjoyed the warm soup version of it.
Are there any other types of noodles that people eat in Japan? Because top of mind, I'm really only thinking of ramen and soba noodles.
There's udon noodles, which are thicker, chewier version of ramen, kind of. It's got to be a rice noodle. I'm sure
What's
they've
your
got
favorite noodle? Udon noodles?
udon noodles. They're my favorite for sure. They're like so thick and chewy and great.
So after Nikko, you had your soba noodles, you stayed at your river hostel, you went to Tokyo. Where in Tokyo did you stay?
So when we go to Tokyo, we always stay in Asakusa. It's in the Tokyo subway line, but it's cheaper to stay in Asakusa than like Shibuya or Shinjuku. But those are the main going out areas. So it comes as a bit of a trade-off. So we find a cheaper accommodation in Asakusa and we'll take the train into like the going out area.
Do the trains run late at night so that if you're going out, you can get back to Asakusa? Or how do you get there after you've been out all night?
So they run late-ish. They ran until like 12:30, and this is where we run into a big learning opportunity from my trip, this most recent time to Japan. Don't miss the last train. It was not a good idea.
What did you have to do?
We had to wait for the 5 o'clock train to start running.
Was it not feasible to take like a taxi?
If we really wanted to, we could have. But they're really expensive in Japan. Taxi prices, like they don't have Uber yet. I think they're just starting to get Uber in some areas now. So the taxis can just charge whatever they want to, right? So it gets really expensive, especially late at night. So we looked at it and we're like, it's only like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning after our night out. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. We'll just miss the last train and stay out. And then there's a 24-hour ramen restaurant. And so we sat there and had some food and then waited outside of the train station. And then I'm like slouched against the train station wall and I'm like, oh no, I'm so tired. I've made a grave mistake. And I'll never do that again.
Oh my gosh. So, in many places in North America, if you're out at 1 a.m., there's just nothing open. Are there a lot of things open in Japan, specifically in Tokyo at that time, if you do miss the train?
Yeah, I was very happy to find the 24-hour ramen restaurant. And it was packed with also drunk white people, which was nice to see some camaraderie. And convenience stores are pretty much open 24/7. So convenience stores, if you need a quick bite or whatever, like they usually have bathrooms and snacks and drinks and more beer. If you want more beer, you can buy it at convenience stores 24/7.
I know you've been to Tokyo before, so I'm going to kind of ask you to bring in a little bit of knowledge from maybe some of your other trips. What are some of your highlights from your Tokyo trips in general, and what would you recommend travelers to Japan and Tokyo to do if they're in Tokyo for a few days?
I really liked going to Harajuku. It's like busy shopping street, but it brings in a lot of interesting people, which is really fun to people watch there. You can buy the crazy viral cotton candy things if you want to. People watching, fantastic there. And then across from Harajuku, there's a man-made forest with a shrine in it. So I thought that was really cool, like just the juxtaposition of a huge forest in the middle of this crazy town. So Harajuku area for sure, super cool. Oh, you have to do
That's okay.
the Shibuya crossing, the Tokyo Scramble. You got to see that. There's usually viewing
Is it
points.
worth the hype?
Okay, yes. This one is worth the hype for sure. It's so cool. But you do have like 100 foreigners like live streaming through, which kind of like, I don't know, ruins the vibe of it. But if you go during the day, it's just like this big crosswalk and like a couple people are walking through. But then you go at nighttime and it's packed with people. So that's pretty cool to see. It is worth the hype. You go to like the Starbucks that's over top of it and you can just like watch all the people walking around. It's pretty cool. Definitely worth the hype. There's a really good restaurant. So it's not in the center of Tokyo, but it is worth the train ride. It's called Tonkatsu. Oh, it's in Shinjuku.
What kind of food is it?
They serve one thing, fried pork cutlet. It's like a thick pork cutlet.
Is that called tonkatsu in Japanese?
Tonkatsu? Yeah, tonkatsu, pork cutlet. And then they have unlimited refills of like rice and a cabbage.
My gosh, that sounds like literally amazing. Do you have any other restaurant recommendations throughout Tokyo?
There was a restaurant in Asakusa that had really good ramen, and all of their ramen eggs are double yolk ramen eggs. So that was kind of special. Yo Roya. It was so good. It was so good. And these places, both of them, they always have a lineup, but it goes so fast. So it's worth the wait for sure.
Do you find that in Japan, places that have a lineup are usually the places you want to go?
100%. If there's a lot of people lining up for this, it's worth it.
I do think Tokyo as a city, if you're someone who's never been to Japan, can seem very overwhelming because it's very large. There's so many different places to go. And oftentimes people are only there for a few days. But for my understanding, Tokyo needs more than like 3 days. You said you were there for 2 weeks and you couldn't see it all. So I guess I'm just trying to understand for people listening, where do they want to hit up based on what they want to do in Tokyo?
I feel like my best recommendation for that, and this is like a hot travel tip that I do for every city that I go to, is I look up a free walking tour in the area. And so you get like a person that lives there and they just walk around and you can ask them your questions for like what you specifically want to see. And you just tip them at the end. But usually Shinjuku and Shibuya are like the big going out, eating, shopping areas. So you can find pretty much everything you want there. There's museums in some, like it's called Ueno. So if you're a museum-y art gallery person, that's a good spot for that. And then there's Akihabara, which is kind of like the nerdy area if you want to see like your Pokemon trading cards or like your little figurine guys. If you're going to collect these things, Akihabara is the place to go for that one.
Is there any experiences that people need to do if they're in Tokyo?
I think you definitely need to get lost in Tokyo. You need to take one of the trains and then you're looking at your phone like, I went the wrong way. I think that's just like a rite of passing because there's so many trains in the city. There's like trains on top of trains on top of trains. There's floors of trains. So you're gonna get lost. And there's this one, I think it's in Shibuya, where there's 25 different exits. And you're looking at Google Maps and it says take exit 15A and you can't find 15A. And then you're like, I'll take 15B. And it's like the complete opposite wrong side. So I think you have to get lost in Tokyo to have a real good experience. You'll find something fun.
It certainly sounds like a place that is very high energy, lots to do, a lot to take in the environment. So I'm sure it's nice when you go from a place like Tokyo to go to a place like Nara, or maybe you go to a place like Nikko. I'm excited to hear the compare and contrast of the rest of your trip. So after you're in Tokyo, you left Taka and you decided to go to Nara on your own. I'm assuming you stayed in a hostel in Nara. Did you meet people there or did you do this portion of your trip fully on your own?
In Nara, it's kind of a smaller city. I stayed in a hostel and I made that hostel my base for like 4 days, which if I did it again, I wouldn't make Nara my base for those couple days just because it's so small. I found that a lot of the tourists that are staying there, one night maybe, and then they go. So I didn't find that it was a really great place to meet people that are going to be there for a couple days. Most people stay there for one day and then go on to the next city. So I did that part mainly by myself. I didn't really meet too many people staying in the hostel for a couple days. Not a lot of familiar faces that you'd cross a couple times. So a lot of turnover in the town.
Did you take the Shinkansen from Tokyo to Nara?
I did. It runs from Tokyo and I think I took it to Osaka because it stops at Kyoto and Osaka, the one that I took. It was the first time taking a bullet train. It was so cool. It goes so fast. And if you're a train nerd, you'll really like Japan. I'm not a train nerd, and I was very impressed with it.
Is there any specific difference that you notice between taking a normal train versus taking the bullet train or Shinkansen as it's known?
A lot of different paperwork. They give you like 3 different tickets, and you have to put them in, and it was very confusing. So I always just took my tickets up to the person that was working there and I was like, which one do I use? Whereas a normal train, you can kind of get like your little transit card and tap it whenever you go. But the Shinkansen, you have to have your specific tickets and you have to book your specific seat. So I found that part was a big difference. More tickets.
Do you find that you have to book the Shinkansen in advance, or are they frequent enough that you can book them when you're actually in Japan?
You can definitely book them when you're already in Japan. I'm not sure if you can book it the same day. When I did it, it was like the day before, 2 days before. But they're definitely frequent enough that you can just book it once you're in Japan.
Why did you choose to stay in Nara versus staying in Osaka or Kyoto?
My main reason for going to Nara was I wanted to see the town with all the little free-range deer. And I thought it would be a good space to keep as a base and then go from there. In hindsight, I should have made like Osaka my base and then take a day trip to Nara. They're very close together, the two cities. But I just wanted to stay with the deer. It was cute.
Maybe I should also clarify because I'm assuming that the listeners already know. In Nara, they have these free range deer where if they bow at you, you give them a cookie. So essentially, the people visiting Nara are all harassed by these deer who are expecting cookies and just constantly follow you around and like bow at you like this constantly.
Yeah.
Just so the people know, I cannot assume people know what we're talking about.
Fair. It's true.
I've heard very mixed emotions about the Nara deer, to be honest. I've heard some people who find them aggressive, and I find some people tell me that they're like cute and nice and they bow for your cracker and they're the kindest things ever. So, what was your experiences with the deer, Nara?
Two things can be true at one time. They can be very cute, but they can also be really aggressive. My experience was, I got the little crackers. As soon as you have food around you, they'll all swarm you. So I try to like just take one cracker out at a time, not let them know that I have a stash. And I wouldn't give crackers to the deer with the horns. I did that and it was not fun because then the horns get you and kind of scary. So they can be aggressive, but other ones can also be cute. I understand the mixed opinions about Nara as well. It did have a lot of deer poop everywhere. And then there was just deer everywhere, and sometimes they would like poke you because they think that you have food. So it's not for everybody. I think it was fun to experience it. I think also once you've seen it once, you've kind of seen it.
Have you been to any of the other places in Japan, like Rabbit Island or Monkey Island, where they're just like infiltrated with one species of animal?
No, but there is a cat island that I think I would like to go see.
I'm sure like 50% of the people who listen to this podcast would love to go to Cat Island.
Nice. Target market.
What else did you do in Nara? You were there for a few days, so I'm sure you did more than just like bow at deer.
A lot of bowing at deer. But when I was in Nara, I had like posted on my Instagram story that I was in Nara, and a friend that I had met like 5 years ago, the first time I went to Japan, sent me a message and he's like, "No way, I'm also in Japan." And he was staying in Osaka. So then we took like just a normal train, not a bullet train, and went to a waterfall in Osaka. And it was really nice.
I don't picture Osaka being a place where you have waterfalls, so I'm assuming this is outside of the city center.
Yes, it was outside of the city center. It was called Minoo. So I think I took two trains, like one train to get out of Osaka, and then one train that went specifically to this town of Minoo. And it was really picturesque. They had like these really cute red bridges throughout, like it was kind of like rocky and mountainy. And they're kind of known for maple leaves as well, like the Japanese maple. So they had a lot of like deep fried maple leaves, and it was a cultural experience,
Why was it a cultural experience?
something that you have to do, but it was really just a leaf in dough and then deep fried. It was not good.
I feel like of all the Japanese food, they're so well known for their food. Like of all the things to make, they're frying a maple leaf. We could do that in Canada.
Good. $1 million idea, actually. I'm going to start that.
What else did you do in Nara? Was there any food highlights or activity highlights?
There was a lot of cool temples in Nara as well. They have like really big statues inside of their temple. There's one really well-known Todaiji temple, I think is what it's called. That was really cool to see. Just like massive, massive temple. I think Nara used to be one of the capital cities in Japan because the capital kind of like moved throughout the 3,000 years of their history. So it was really cool to learn the background of the city. As for food, the ice cream. That's what was really good in Nara. They have like chocolate ice cream and then like matcha ice cream. And it was just like one of the best ice creams I've ever had.
Don't they have a culture where you don't really eat food while you're walking? So do you have to
Oh,
go sit down and eat your ice cream?
you don't walk and eat. So like they have park benches all throughout. So I got my little ice cream and then I sat on the park bench to eat it as a respectful citizen.
Speaking of respect, is there any other customs you want to share about respect that you find that Westerners maybe don't know when they go to Japan for the first time?
I find a big one is you don't talk on the phone when you're like on the bus or the train. Definitely no like scrolling through TikTok with the volume up on your phone when you're on the train. I think they're really respectful of like noise in a city of 14 million people. I think it's respectful to not be on a phone call. I was on a bus one time and the bus driver like made an announcement because somebody was taking a phone call on the bus. And so my husband was translating and he's like, "Oh, Maddie, that guy's gonna pull the bus over if this guy doesn't hang up his phone call."
So they're like serious about the no phones on the train or bus situation.
You can scroll quietly, but anything with noise, like, no.
Is there any other customs?
I feel like there's like a backpack thing. As soon as you get on the train, like you don't wear your backpack on your back. You like wear it on your front. And it's not because you're worried that somebody's gonna like pickpocket you. It's because you're worried that you might like bump into the person behind you without knowing. So I think it's like a backpack comes to the front or like you put it on your feet or there's always like shelves on the train and bus to put your bag up. The backpack thing is another respectful. You don't want to be hitting people with your backpack, which I do often because I'm quite clumsy. So I always have to remember like, take the bag off. Be nice.
In terms of going to the temples in Japan, are there certain customs people should be aware of if they're visiting there?
A lot of the temples don't want you to wear your outside shoes. So there'll be like a little cubby where you take your shoes and put your shoes in the cubby. And then they have usually like a slipper that you can use. So probably I would want to wear socks in case you're needing to put communal slippers on for the temples. Sometimes they don't let you take pictures inside, but most of them do. I think just pay attention to the signs because there would be a sign to say, like, don't take pictures here.
In terms of translating Japanese into English, do you use Google Translate or is there any app that you use to help you quickly translate so that you can read menus or signs, or even if you're talking to someone?
Google Translate definitely works. I also find like my Apple phone, if there's a sign that I want to translate, I'll take a picture of it and you can like hold to translate. It's worked when there was a sign on this hike and I was like, I'm not sure if this is 300 meters, 300 kilometers. I just see 300. It's like, what is this? Are we almost there or not? And it was like 300 meters. So it was nice to know.
You did go to Osaka for the day. That's the time you went to the park, the waterfall. Did you actually go to Osaka proper on that day?
No, not on that day. I have been to Osaka like on a previous trip, but this day was kind of just like a waterfall day.
In Japan, one of the most common routes is called the Golden Route, where you travel from Tokyo to Kyoto, then Osaka. So, since Nara is kind of right in the middle of Osaka and Kyoto, can you just quickly maybe summarize, give a few quick tips, both of Osaka, the city, and Kyoto, the city, for people at home who are going to visit the most common traveled route in Japan?
Definitely. It's worth it. Everybody goes to these cities for a reason. I would say in Kyoto, there's like the Fushimi Inari with like the gold temple things. If you really want to see it, go, but I think that one's a little bit overrated. If you are going to go, you can keep walking all the way up because it's really, really overpopulated at the beginning because everyone wants to take their pictures. But if you keep walking, like they go for miles up. So with the Fushimi Inari, just keep walking and then it gets less crowded. Kyoto in the city is so cool to see. It's really worth the visit. We went on a weekend and it was crazy busy. A lot of the local tourists go to Kyoto as well on the weekend and like they dress up in their kimonos. So it was really cool to see, but the streets were packed. So I would plan your trip to Kyoto knowing that a lot of people will be there on the weekend. But if you can't avoid it, it's still worth it to see. And then Osaka, I think, has the best food in the country. Definitely eat whatever you can in Osaka.
Do you have any specific food recommendations in Osaka?
Yes, I do. The best restaurant that I went to was Okonomiyaki Chitose. And it's like, so it's a savory pancake. And it was just the best food I've had. The ramen there was really good. Not at the okonomiyaki place. Osaka in general has really good ramen, and I find it's like different from the Tokyo ramen. Can't explain how, but it's just different. And Osaka is also known for takoyaki, which is like doughy balls and it's got like octopus in it. Fantastic. It's so good.
The amount of people I've saw or seen burn their mouth on takoyaki is like every YouTube video on the internet.
It's hot. I mean, don't be dumb, but it's like so good. You just want to get it in here really quickly. I get it.
Have you ever been to Hiroshima? Because I've heard they have their own okonomiyaki type pancake that's a bit different than the Osaka okonomiyaki.
Ooh, I've never been to Hiroshima. Not yet. I would like to go. I think if you're taking the Golden Route and you're in Osaka, it makes sense to continue on to Hiroshima because it's in the south. Maybe the next trip I'll go and I'll have more tips.
Anything else you want to mention about either Kyoto or Osaka?
Osaka, I think, had one of my favorite free walking tours that I've ever done. It just gave a really good explanation about the history and the culture because there's kind of like a rivalry between Osaka and Tokyo of like, I don't know, culture wars. The language is different, the food is different. So I found the walking tour in Osaka is like can't miss. I just Google search free walking tour Osaka and it's the first one that comes up. It was really good.
Do you have a specific hostel chain in Japan that you like to use? Or do you just go into Hostel World and find whatever's the cheapest in the best location? Because I seem to think that there are specific hostel chains throughout the country of Japan.
There's definitely specific hostel chains throughout. But I find like each location is going to have a different vibe. So I go to Hostel World and I'll look at the reviews and like look at the pictures and see like if there's comments that say there wasn't really a common space to hang out. I'll be like, I don't really like that. I like to have a communal space to meet people. Or if a hostel organizes activities within, I'll book that one because it's like so much easier to meet people if you're all on a shared experience together. And then I'll look at, yeah, the reviews just to see like if people say this is in a really noisy part of town and I couldn't sleep. I'll be like, I don't want that one, even if that one's $10 cheaper. Like, I value sleep, so I'll find something that's comfier.
Okay, so those are like your main things when you're looking for a hostel.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. I respect your ability to stay in a hostel in general. Good for you, Maddie. Before you left, did you go back to Tokyo?
No, we did our one big night out before I went to Nara.
Is there anything about this trip that we're missing in terms of where you went or where you stayed or what you did?
No, because I've already told you about when I missed the last train. That was our big night out. I think I just met up with Taka in Tokyo just to go to the airport.
What did you do on your big night out?
We met up with like this one guy that we volunteered with in Nepal, and he brought his friends to Japan. And so we just met up with them, and we went to this all-you-can-eat restaurant that has like a tap of this lemon sour drink. And so it's just all you can drink lemon sours. And for an hour, we're just drinking lemon sours and it's like 90% sugar. And then from there, we just went to like different bars and convenience stores to drink beer on the street. And it's like, it's fine. We'll miss the last train. And we get home at 5 o'clock in the morning to sleep for like 4 hours until we have to check out.
Oh my gosh. Well, at least it's a memory you have now.
Forever.
Forever. While we're reviewing other places you've stayed, why don't we quickly talk about Okinawa or anywhere else you've been, just so that people have kind of an idea of different places in Japan. So let's start with Okinawa. Tell me a bit about that, and then just quickly review any other places you've been in Japan.
Okinawa was really cool. The culture there was like a lot different from mainland Tokyo, a bit more like beachy and hot. And the food there was more of an American fusion. They created a taco rice, which is like classic taco ingredients, but they put it on top of rice. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. This is so good. And I had a noodle dish, and it was called Mazemen in mainland Okinawa. And it was one of the favorite, like top five things that I've eaten in my life. It was so good. The restaurant is called Maharoba. It was a noodle
Okay.
dish with like different ingredients and then you mix it. And it was just like the best thing I had to eat. And then so that was mainland Okinawa. And then
Mm.
we took a ferry to Zamami Island. And it was this really small island. It was really cute. You can bike the whole island in a day on like a bicycle. And it was really cool vibe. It was chill. People were like slow and relaxed, which is a lot different from like Tokyo and everyone's kind of like rushed and busy. And just the nightlife is you just go to bed. You sit and look at the stars at the beach and it's like, okay. So you get like it's more of a peaceful part, but I thought it was really special. It was really cool. We stayed at a guest house and she like makes breakfast for you in the morning. It was really sweet. And the island was beautiful. Zamami Island had amazing cliffs. So like you're biking around and you pull off to the cliff and it's just like spectacular. It's really, really pretty. And like crystal clear blue waters as well.
If you're going to Okinawa or Zamami Island, how long do you think you need if you're making that a detour? Like, does that need like 5 or 6 days?
I feel like you could do 4. I think if you do 2 days in Okinawa, you can see kind of everything that you wanted to see. They've got a cool Navy reserve where it's like tunnels that they used in the war. And then Zamami, quick little ferry, nice little island retreat. Probably, yeah, 2 days for each.
Anywhere else in Japan that you've gone that you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah. Hakone. I think it should be on the Golden Route. It's close enough to Tokyo. It's like an onsen town, so there's just natural hot springs everywhere. And it's also right next to Mount Fuji. So you get the onsens to relax, and then if you wanted to do a hike to see Mount Fuji, you can also hike Mount Fuji, but it's a really short season. So I went to Hakone and we did a hike, Mount Kintoki, and you get to see Mount Fuji from the top. Well, if you're lucky, you get to see Mount Fuji. It's apparently quite elusive, but I've been pretty lucky. Every time I've been able to see it.
Do you want to explain to people what an onsen is?
Yeah, so it's all of Japan is a very volcanic island because they're on fault lines. So there's just natural hot springs from the volcanic activity underneath. And they've just built towns around these volcanic fault lines to bathe in their hot, salty water.
I know that onsens traditionally do not allow people to enter if they have tattoos because onsens do require that people undress fully to go into them. Specifically, I believe they're separated like male female. Have you had issues with Taka being able to use an onsen because you guys both do have tattoos? Spoiler alert if you haven't noticed the tattoos on Maddie's arm, and her husband has them too.
Yeah, we haven't had any issues, but usually Google Maps would say, well, I guess not all of them do. If you go to the onsen, they'll have a sign posted. Like if they're really against tattoos, it'll be posted like at the front desk. But as long as they're okay with it, like some of them are really strict and like they won't let you in. But like my husband has like some finger tattoos, so like they'll be able to see as we're like, this is our information. And so usually they would be like, no, but that hasn't happened to us yet. And yes, you're correct. Very segregated, women only in one area and then men only in the other area, and very completely naked.
So, the first time you nakedly got into an onsen, what was your emotions in that moment? Did you feel fully comfortable in your body bearing all in front of the Japanese women?
Definitely not. It was super weird. And I was like, is this really worth it? I was like, I could just take a bath by myself, and it's kind of the same thing. But the way that they built the onsens, like especially in Hakone. It was like inside outside, and there's all these like natural rocks around. So they really built it up to be really spa-like. So you can like sit outside and you're just like in like a nice hot bath and you're looking up at the stars. It was so cool. It's like, all right, it's worth a bunch of old Japanese ladies seeing my entire naked body. That's fine.
So when you were in Hakone, the onsen you went to was in your hostel?
There was two onsens that we went to. There was one that was in the hostel, and then there was one that was just in the town.
Have you ever stayed at a ryokan?
No, I've never stayed at a ryokan. They look really bougie.
Something we haven't talked at all about is sushi, wagyu beef, unagiri. Can you give me some quick tips and tricks for someone going to Japan looking for good sushi?
It's pretty much anywhere. You can get good sushi like from 7-Eleven convenience stores, or you could go, the conveyor belt sushis are really fun. They're really cool to see. And the a la carte ones are probably going to be your best quality sushi if you're into that. We did it once or twice. You definitely pay for it, but it was delightful. Really good sushi pretty much everywhere. Like even the 7-Eleven sushi is better than the sushi you get here in Canada. Well, Ontario specifically.
The only place that you can go to 7-Eleven, eat sushi, and be completely fine and not get parasites, probably. Okay, what about wagyu beef? Is that outside of the Maddie Taka budget range, or is that something you guys have tried before?
It's totally outside of the Maddie Taka budget range. That doesn't compute with my hostel lifestyle.
What about the grilled eel? Because every time I see someone eat an eel skewer with like the sweet sauce, I'm like, I need to go to Japan.
Ooh, I don't think I've tried the eel skewer before. I've had like they have these little silver fish on skewers that they barbecue, and those are really good, but I've never tried the eel one.
Is there any other big Japanese foods that we haven't talked about that you want to mention?
Definitely shout outs to the onigiri. They are the best snack. The little rice triangle balls. The packaging is very specific where you can have the seaweed on the outside still stay crispy. So those are really great. Very cheap, nutritious, fun flavors. And the pastries and desserts in Japan are top notch. I think that they've perfected the pastry. The Japanese flavor profiles, they just make everything balanced. Nothing is too sweet. Nothing is too anything. Like the pastries are bomb. They've figured out pastries. They make these cream breads. Those are the best ones to get. I got fat the first time I was in Japan because I just ate too many cream breads. There is a viral food that is worth the hype. When you go to Family Mart and you get like the egg sandwich with the fried chicken. So the egg sandwich is in the fridge, and then you bring it to the counter, you buy your egg sandwich, and then you ask for one of the fried chickens, and you open your egg sandwich and you put the fried chicken in. Just as good as every TikToker says it is. It is worth the hype.
Is there anything at all about your trip that you want to mention that we haven't talked about?
The Pokemon Center was worth it. If anybody's into like the nerdy aspect of Japan, the Pokemon Center in Shibuya was really cool. It's got like the tank with Mew 2 in it. And then they have like
Hmm.
any possible anime that you want to buy a collector's item from, like they'll have it. You can buy anything. It's amazing.
Is there any good stories from that trip to Japan that you haven't shared that you want to share?
Karaoke culture. Oh, you haven't gone to karaoke yet. Karaoke in Japan is like so much fun. You just rent a little box and you don't have to sing Stacy's mom badly in front of 100 people that live in the same city as you. It's great. No one knows. They give you a little tablet, you like play your song, and you're like, ooh, you know what's gonna go good with this? Some fried chicken and beer.
Great. I love Japan. It just sounds literally amazing.
Man, they figured out a lot of stuff.
Were there any interesting people you met on this trip at any of your hostels?
I don't think that there was anybody really interesting at this trip that we've met, but we've made a lot of friends along the way from like previous ones. There's this French guy, Boris, who was moving to Japan, and he would wear like the traditional Japanese wooden shoes. Like we went out and he was wearing these shoes and they're just so noisy. I was like, this is not comfortable. Why are you doing this?
To live like the locals do. Like, I'm sure the Japanese people don't even wear them.
They don't. Yeah. So that was fun.
What was the most peaceful, surreal, or beautiful moment of this trip?
I think when we were in Nikko and we were sitting in the cafe sipping our little warm drinks and watching the waterfall, and it was like quiet and peaceful. It was really cool. Nikko in general, I think, was like a good peaceful reset. Coffee by like the river was so nice too.
What would you say was your one highlight of this trip? And then what was one of your lowlights of the trip?
Highlight of the trip, I think, was being in this like Osaka waterfall town. It's just like a really cool hike throughout the mountainy area and like getting to see the waterfall at the end. Like the Osaka waterfall was huge. So that one was like a really like you worked hard for this big long walk to see like this amazing waterfall and it's like, yes, I did it and it's worth it. And the low light was probably me drunk at the train station at 5 o'clock in the morning waiting for my train to take me home.
Yeah, of course. What's the next destination at the top of your bucket list?
My next destination at the top of my bucket list is Portugal. We are going to take our honeymoon starting in September, and I want to do the Azores, the Portuguese islands, and we are going to do that for two
Mhm.
weeks. And then we're also going to do the Portuguese Camino, where we walk from Portugal up the coast to Spain for 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh, amazing. It's time to play one of my favorite travel games, this or that. I'll give you two options, and you pick the one that calls to you the most. No overthinking, just gut feeling. It's the ultimate way to see what kind of traveler you are, Japan style. Are you ready? Ramen or sushi?
Ramen for sure.
City lights in Tokyo or temple vibes in Kyoto?
City in Tokyo, I think.
Vending machine or 7-Eleven?
Oh, 7-Eleven.
Matcha anything or Japanese cheesecake?
Japanese cheesecake.
Okonomiyaki or takoyaki?
Okonomiyaki. More flavors.
Onsen soak or karaoke night?
Ooh, those are completely different things, Daytona. I can't answer that. You're gonna
Go with
make
your
me.
gut, Maddie.
Karaoke.
Fully plan every detail of your trip or plan absolutely nothing and just show up?
So hard. Plan absolutely nothing and show up with a backpack and a dream.
And that's why we invited Maddie on to Wander Every Day. Before we let you go, we do have a few listener questions. I feel like I know the answer to this one, but I'm going to ask anyways. Have you ever done luggage forwarding? If not, do you know much about it?
Oh, I've heard it's a very efficient way if you don't want to travel your luggage around. I have never done luggage forwarding, but it's reliable from what I hear.
If you were to go back to Japan, where would you go and why?
I would go back to Osaka. I think that the food is better in Osaka, and I think that the people are a bit more open. Like Tokyo is more of like a working city, where Osaka is like a little bit more fun and chill and vibey.
Have you ever had any opportunities to travel to northern Japan, or do you have any interest in going to northern Japan, like Sapporo?
I would like to go. I've heard that like Hokkaido in the north and like Sapporo is where ramen started. Like they made ramen for the first time in the north of Japan. And the snow seems interesting, but I don't like snow. So I was thinking about doing a bit of like a ski trip, but then after the winter that we just had here, I don't want to see snow ever again in my life. So I don't want to go to the ski
Yeah.
season snow part.
Have you ever been to Japan during cherry blossom season? And is that an overhyped experience?
I'm a big shoulder season traveler, so I've never been in the cherry blossom season because it's like really busy, and I feel like things get more expensive during like the really busy seasons. So I've never been during the cherry blossom, but I have talked to friends that have been there for it, and they say it's really pretty. for the first day, and then you're like, yeah, okay, there's just cherry blossoms everywhere. So if you're really into it, it might be worth going during that time, but it might also be a little overhyped.
What time of year do you suggest people go to Japan?
My favorite time to go to Japan is October. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's not too busy, and you don't get like the really expensive cherry blossom tourist price increase. The weather's really nice because sometimes in the summertime it can get really hot and humid. And then October, you're starting to get some of the leaves changing as well. So you get a little bit of the fall colors and a little bit of the easier foot traffic.
Before we finish up, is there anything at all that you want to add?
I feel like you should definitely take a really busy train at rush hour in like Tokyo at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, or at the end of the day, because I feel like that's just part of the experience. They just cram in, and it's really fun to see at the end of the day, like all of the people that are just waiting in line to get on the train. It's not just a big rush to get in the doors. It's like so peaceful and respectful, and like everyone's busy and it's chaotic, but they sit and they wait in their line to get on the train. So I think rush hour train is a rite of passage. I think you should try it.
Well, thank you, Maddie, for being on Wander Every Day. Your tips and tricks are invaluable, in my opinion. I think the amount you know about Japan is so helpful because so many people want to go there. Literally, everyone I talk to wants to go to Japan, especially recently. So thank you so much for being on the podcast, and I hope that we can hear from you soon, maybe after your trip to Portugal.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was fun, and it was great chatting with you. You always have the best questions.
That's a wrap on today's episode. From Tokyo Buzz to Nikko's quiet charm, deer encounters in Nara, and breathtaking waterfalls just outside of Osaka. I hope this episode left you feeling inspired, curious, and maybe even pricing out bullet train passes for yourself. If you love this conversation, don't forget to subscribe or follow Wander Every Day on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also catch the video pod on YouTube or follow me for behind the scenes at Wander Every Day on Instagram or TikTok. Perhaps most importantly, if you want to support the show, please give us a 5-star rating, leave us a comment, or write us a review. It would really mean the world to me. Do you have any questions about traveling to Japan? Send me a DM and maybe we'll review it on a future episode. But until next time, friends, happy wandering.